Hey there, you're listening to the Group X podcast with Tony Zanato. Today I'm talking with Tayler Hocking, owner and manager of Future Fitness 24/7 in Cobram. We chat about how he got into the fitness industry, opening up his gym in regional Victoria, COVID restrictions including 9 lockdowns, what the future looks like, purchasing the best equipment, and all things Group X. Tayler, thank you for joining me, mate. I appreciate your time. And thanks for coming on the show.
No worries at all, mate. Anytime.
Cool. Hey, tell us, how did you get into the fitness industry? What's your story?
I suppose it's one of those classic fitness stories. I think, quite overweight and unhealthy my whole entire life. Didn't start really getting into fitness until later in life, and sort of just fell in love with it. Like I suppose those classic fitness stories are, or you hear a lot of them anyway. So I'm actually a qualified butcher by trade.
No way.
So I did that for 7 years. Did an apprenticeship when I was 18 and did that for about 7 years. And then got a bit sick of that, and then actually went and worked. And I was always been into technology and things like that. So I actually went and worked in an electrical store. Started just delivering electrical products, and then that evolved into selling and servicing technology, mobile phones, computers, and all that sort of stuff. So
wow.
I did that for a couple of years, and then some things changed again, and I went back butchering for a little while after that, and then it's a bit of a long-winded story, but then I went and worked for a newspaper and sold advertising in a newspaper, which I sort of was pretty good at. Sort of really enjoyed that side of things. And then one thing led to another, and I decided that I was going to go and travel around the world. So I went and did that for a little while.
Yeah.
And then when I got home, I thought, what am I going to do with myself now? I'd sold everything I owned. I had a house that I built still back in Cobram here.
Yep.
Went and worked for my father for a little while, who sells farm machinery.
Yep.
Just to sort of fill in some time and make a bit of money and all that sort of stuff. And I said to Dad one day, you know what, I wouldn't mind being a school teacher. And he said to me, well, why don't you ring the university? Classic Dad, ring him and ask him. So I thought, all right, I will. So I rang the university and said, look, this is my story, and I wouldn't mind, changing careers and being a school teacher. They said to me, how old are you and what have you done? And they said, well, you can't get straight into school teaching because you haven't finished, VCE, which I didn't. I dropped out early. So,
yep.
But what you can do is get into an arts degree, and then you can change over. So you can do a year of arts and then change second year into education. So I said, all right, how do we do that? They said, write us a letter. This is a pretty crazy story actually, but they said, write us a letter, 1,500 word essay or a letter, and let us know why you want to come to university. So I did, sat down that night, wrote this letter out, sent it off to the uni the next day. That was on about a Tuesday, I think. I sent it on the Wednesday. It got to Bendigo at La Trobe University, obviously that Thursday or Friday. They said, we've got your letter. You come here on Monday and enroll, and then you start on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday that week.
No way.
And I was like, oh shit. Said, well, Dad, I'm off to uni. Mum and Dad, I'm off to university. I was 27 at this stage.
Yep.
26, 27, around about that age. So I trotted to Bendigo and started university, and I did that for a couple of years. I actually did first year of arts and then second year of uni and third year of uni. And in the middle of that, obviously signed up to a gym over in Bendigo and started training and really enjoying it. And they had a Cert 3-4 that they were offering at that time. It was a government scheme where you could study, you could upskill your qualifications for free. Basically, it's fully funded by the government.
Yep.
So they said to me, well, you can do it for free. It won't cost you a cent. And they had like a campus there. So it was sort of like on-site training, which was, I like the idea of, rather than by correspondence and all that sort of stuff. So I did. That's what I did. And just sort of fell in love with it. I started doing CrossFit, which was around 2000 and 10, I think that was.
Yep.
Because it was all brand new. There was one CrossFit gym in Bendigo at that stage, and really fell in love with that method of training.
Yep.
I came back to Cobram. I hadn't come back for a few years, actually, probably around about 2014. I think I came back for the first time, and tried to go to the gym here during school holidays, and the gym was closed because they didn't open over holiday periods. So, and I thought to myself, well, that doesn't really help me. So anyway, I actually went to Dad's yard and found an old car axle with some wheels on it, and took it down to the beach here down the river, and started doing some clean and jerks by the river with a car axle and some tyres on it. And found an old, Anyway, so someone actually tagged me in, like someone was looking for a personal trainer, and someone tagged me in a post and said, you should, go and train with Tayler. He's like down the river and doing all this stuff. So they messaged me and said, would you be keen? I said, yeah, sure. No problem at all. Come down the river and we'll start training. So started training that person, started getting really fit, started them losing heaps of weight, and that sort of evolved into then another 3 or 4 people. And then I thought, oh, well, I've got probably 4 or 5 clients now. I better get some equipment. So jumped on, I think it was on Gumtree or eBay. I had bugger all money at this point.
Yeah.
And I'd saved up about $1,000 or $1,200 just through training. And I, bought a heap of secondhand equipment from somebody in Melbourne, drove down in a storage container and bought this secondhand iron edge gear and some bump plates and barbell and kettlebells and a med ball and all sorts of stuff. And started training more people. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe I should do some group classes. So I put a call out, said if anyone wants to do some group sessions, it was pretty cheap at that point. I think it was only like $20 a week I ran about 10 or 15 classes a week.
Yeah.
Morning, night, afternoon, and Saturday mornings, all sorts of stuff. I got good response from that because no one was sort of doing what I was at that point at all.
Yep.
We were doing deadlifts on the river down on the beach and clean and jerks and snatches and wall balls to the gum trees and handstand walks. There's a little building down there. We're doing handstands on the walls and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, that started to snowball. So it turned into around about 45 people at one stage in my group classes. Shit. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's pretty rad. I actually bought then I went and bought a whole trail load of equipment. So I had probably about 10 or 15 barbells and enough bumper plates to do those barbells and about 10 wall balls and a whole set of kettlebells. And I had heaps of shit, and I just drive down there in my trailer every day, unstack it on the beach and train people. You go. Yeah. And then it got to sort of middle of winter and it was freezing cold and foggy and wet and dark and was calling off a fair few training sessions because it was raining and all sorts of stuff. And I thought, well, I can't just call these sessions off. So we're going to need somewhere to go and do it. So I thought, might open a gym. So I did. I started doing a bit of research and luckily I still had a house that I'd built when I was like 22 or 3 here in Cobram. So I had a bit of equity sitting around in that, and I borrowed some money against it and got the ball rolling, and here we are. So
no way.
Opened that in 2016. So that's 5 years ago, actually, May this year. 2016. And
so for anyone that's listening, where is Cobram? Whereabouts is Cobram? I know you've said it's regional. Whereabouts?
Yeah, it's right on the border of Victoria, New South Wales, right on the Murray River. So, when I say on the beach, it's not the ocean beach; it's the river beach. So we've got sandy white beach on every corner of the river here, and Thompson's Beach, which is in Cobram, is the biggest inland beach in the country. So it's huge, this big sandy white beach and beautiful Murray River gums, and it's actually paradise, like it's magic.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's only a small little town of about 6,000 people.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And how many gyms are in town, man? How many people are in
Cobram? There's one. That's me.
Just you. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So there's gyms in Barooga, which is 2-minute drive over the river. That's New South Wales.
Right.
There's a gym there that's been there for 25 years and it was all there was.
Yep.
But I just saw a bit of an opportunity to, it's been there for 25 years and not much changed in that period. So I saw an opportunity to do, the fitness industry had evolved since then. So
yeah, for sure.
I saw an opportunity to do things that I knew were up to date and new, different training methodologies.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's where we ended up, and it's good. We've been going strong. We've got a CrossFit. We've got CrossFit Cobram on one side, and then we've got a 24-hour gym on the other side.
Cool.
Which again, I think was a bit sort of ahead of its time too.
Yep.
In that, our CrossFit gym's 24 hours. There's no limit on the time you can come and use that either.
Brilliant.
So
yeah.
It's sort of
So you're still
niche,
running CrossFit classes through like timetable classes throughout the day or throughout the week as well?
Yep. We're affiliated with CrossFit. So we've got CrossFit classes that run as well, as well as, standard Les Mills classes and spin classes. And we have a functional 30 class, and we have low impact for the older ladies class. And we've got, we've just added Les Mills body balance, body pump, body step.
What's your member? When I say what's your member, what's your age demographic of member you've got that's coming in?
So, we've got, because it is such a small country town, we do have a lot of older members.
Yep.
But then our main demographic is that sort of 23 to 29-year-old female, believe it or not.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sort of our major demographic.
Yep.
But then we've got a massive variety of age groups and males and females as well. But that's sort of when we look at those the graphs of age demographic, that's sort of the highest one. Yep. So it's good. Really
cool.
Good.
And so 2016, tell me, when you went looking for a property, what was out there in a small town, in a regional small town? What did you come across? Were there a heap of places? Were there not many places? How did you choose what you're in?
Well, we got a bit lucky, I think, in that there was this building sitting vacant for about 2 or 3 years. And I just started inquiring, and someone said to me, well, I heard this building's still up for rent. And I went and had a look at it, and it was perfect, but it was derelict. Like it hadn't been, no one had been in there for maybe 2 or 3 years. There was somebody, I think, had been living in there, to be honest with you. There was an old mattress there. And like the building itself's very old. So it needed a lot of work, but there wasn't much to choose from. That was big enough and had 2 separate rooms like I wanted, where this did. So we had to do a fair bit of work to get it up to scratch, build bathrooms and, paint and clean and get the floors fully resealed and done. But it's worked out pretty good. We've probably outgrown it now, to be honest with you. It's chock full of equipment. Like we couldn't fit another bit of gear in there if we tried.
Awesome.
Which is good.
It's a good problem to have. It's a good problem
absolutely.
to have.
And we didn't start with that. Like when we started, to be honest, like the equipment wasn't that great. We've updated it. I keep investing money and whatever I can into the next big good thing, you know what I mean? So at the moment, we've got probably as good as it gets. For a small regional town, we get lots of good feedback from lots of people that visit from out of town, look blown away by the quality of the stuff we've got. So pretty proud of that too.
So is Cobram a town where you get a lot of visitors, or is it not like, I'm trying to ask, is it like a holiday destination or not?
Massive holiday destination.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd have
being on the river.
Would you get a lot of transient visitors? Like, and do you do visitor memberships as well?
Yeah, we do. So that's another thing that I've set up a little bit differently. We've got 24-hour casual visits available to purchase online as well.
Awesome.
Which I manually have to then send them a code. We've got a little keypad at the door with a code on it. But they can jump on our website, purchase them, and I've got a little disclaimer there saying if you don't purchase during business hours, you'll have to wait till the next day to get a code. But it seems to work pretty good. But Christmas time, Easter time, all those holiday periods, we get lots of visitors come through.
Oh, great.
Heaps. It's really good. And lots of CrossFitters drop in too,
Yep.
And that, again, can't believe that we're here in the middle of nowhere, CrossFit affiliate.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Cool. I like hearing that kind of stuff, because most gyms and most people I'm talking to aren't in a regional area like you are. Have got your 6,000 population for 6,000 people. So when they most of the time over Christmas time or holiday season, things will die down because a lot of people go away. But I like hearing when certain clubs like yourself have that population or have that spike in those certain areas. They're people that are supporting local business as well.
Absolutely.
That's perfect.
It was hard. I'll be honest with you, it was hard. A lot of people told me it wouldn't work in a small town. People aren't interested in that enough health and fitness in Cobram. And I was like, well, that's why I'm here, because people should be. And people need to know that, they don't have to go do 3 sets of 12 bicep curls every day and that's it. You know what I mean? Like,
isn't that all there is to training though? Come on, that's 3 sets of 12 for everything that I've got to do. That's
standard.
Yeah. I found that on the internet, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. I should make a note too. So Oh, that old chestnut. I used to buy them religiously too. Don't worry about that. Yep. Follow every training plan in there.
Yep. That's how we started back in the day.
So although we've got a population of in the town 6,000 people, the catchment area is about 30,000. So within 20 minutes, half an hour, it's about 30,000. So there's lots of towns around us.
Yep.
And we do get a lot of people come from 15, 20 minutes away to come to the gym. So when I say 6,000, it's the town itself, 6,000. The Shire is about 30,000.
Okay. Yep. Cool. Interesting.
So we just hit, well, look, it's a bit hard to know what the numbers are at the moment because obviously COVID. Yep. That's sort of put a bit of a dent in it, but I think that's just across the board in everything. So I'm can't really complain too much, but we were up around 850 members.
Yep.
Which is pretty rad for a little small country town.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty proud of that.
You mentioned COVID there for a second. I want to touch on that if you don't mind. Last year, March, Shitsville came along.
Yep.
COVID hit us. Clubs went into shutdown.
Yep.
What was the first thought that went through your mind?
I actually cried.
Yep.
Believe it or not. I had a little tear and panicked, I think. When they told us that our business had to close, it was unknown. Like I thought we're done. We're finished. Like we don't, you panic. How are we going to pay the rent? How are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to pay our loans? How are we going to, I think everybody panicked and I just panicked. So it was quite a surreal feeling, to be honest with you. Really surreal.
So we were given virtually 48 hours notice, if that. I remember from a Sunday night to, guys, you'll be shutting on Tuesday. That was your first initial reaction. What was the first thing you did apart from cry? Once you got over your cry, what was the first thing you then thought? What do I need to do for my members, or how do I? What's next?
We had to find out. Like I thought, well, again at that point, what happens with all these memberships we've got running? Do they stop paying? I don't understand how that whole system works. So I think we had to get clarification on that first, what was happening there. And we were told, everything's got to go on hold. So that made me panic even more.
Yep.
So then I just started ringing the banks, financial institutions, trying to find out what do we do? We got nothing coming in. How are we going to pay all this? I think I went to the bank and took every cent I had out of my account. So if money did try to come out, well, I sort of went into defensive mode, I think.
Yeah.
It seems like so long ago now that I can't actually remember that point in time, but it's just become second nature to us now. We don't even, we don't panic anymore.
How did your members react? What was their? Obviously, they would have been reaching out to you, as most clubs have that club. Their members sort of have a bit of a panic as well and go, right, well, my membership's got to stop. But how were they when you were chatting to them or when you were communicating with them? What was the feel and what was the?
I think being in a small town that helps that too, because you do know everybody that comes through the door. So there was a lot of people reaching out and saying, "Hope you're all right," and Oh, well, it was only going to be 2 weeks, remember? So it wasn't going to be the 9 months that it is now.
Yep.
And still happening. But I think everyone was just sort of a bit shocked. And look, I'll be honest with you, that first 2 weeks I was all gung ho for it. I was making sure like we just all got to do the right thing.
Yep.
Everybody's got to stay home. I made sure I posted, let's just all do the right thing and get this over and done with. Don't anyone break the rules. And, there was even messaging coming out of Fitness Australia about, you're allowed to train in groups of 10 people outside. And I was just saying, just don't. Just don't. Let's just try and stay away from everybody just for a couple of weeks and get this over and done with because it's going to go on longer otherwise. So, but everyone was really good. Obviously, you get people panic and say, put my membership on hold. I think because everybody thought they were going to be out of money and work, it was everybody panicked.
Yeah.
There's people I know that panicked at that point that didn't stop working, haven't stopped working. And then they realized, hang on a minute, this isn't probably going to affect me that much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as time goes on, it all gets a bit blurry because it's just been going on for so long.
Yeah.
But I think everyone was really just understanding. Even now, like every time we get shut down again, everyone's like, "Oh, sorry, it's not fair."
Yeah. How many have you had now? And being in Victoria is a lot different to New South Wales, even though you're on the border.
Mm-hmm.
How many?
Number 7.
This is number 7 you're in right now.
Yeah, this will be 9, nearly 10 months of business shut down since March 2020.
Yep. Now, here I am whinging that we're in week 9 here, and I'm having a bit of a whinge and a bit of a moment going, this is hard. I might just pull myself back in my little box over here for a minute and just realise that it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
9 months is I don't even have words to describe how or even fathom how you guys have coped with that, of being 9 months in restrictions and lockdown going on without the business being able to run normally.
Mm.
How have you done it?
It's been challenging. I'm not going to lie. And I know we're friends on Facebook, so you might see me get on there and be a bit facetious and have a bit of a common sense opinion, or what I think is a common sense opinion at some stage. It's hard not to do that a lot. Yep. Being on the border, you can drive 2 minutes. And how long's New South Wales been in lockdown?
9 weeks at their local. So Greater Sydney and Sydney have been 9 weeks, but the rest of it, I think, has been maybe 2.
Yeah. So before that, you were open?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I've had a new gym open 2 minutes away while mine was closed, and the other gym continued to run that entire time while I was closed. And being in a border town, we have a border bubble. So if you're in that border bubble, you can travel freely within it. So you could leave this state, take your mask off because there was no mask restrictions over there, train, exercise at a gym, and then come back to Victoria to put your mask on to stop the spread of coronavirus that entire time. So that was been a hard pill to swallow.
2 minutes down the road.
Literally 2 minute drive, mate. Yeah, so if you see me get on Facebook and have a bit of a
for those people listening, when I shut up and go quiet, it's not. Yeah,
rough. It was rough,
mate.
So our shire is 4,500 square kilometres, 4,500 square kilometres. We didn't have a case in our shire of coronavirus since April 2020, and we'll close that entire time.
Yeah. Look, there's a political angle there, but I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to leave that one alone because that's not this podcast. But mate, I'm so sorry that you've had to deal with that shit and that it's still ongoing and you're back into it now. Let me ask you though, that when you open back up, did all your members come back?
So
had you lost some?
between the country lockdown and then the Victorian only lockdown, we had our busiest 6 weeks we'd ever have. So we had people joining up because they had just been at home. I think the first lockdown was a couple of months, was it? The first Australia-wide one?
I think three months maybe. I think something
for the whole
like that.
country?
I can't remember. Yeah, I think so. I can't remember. It was a fair chunk. I mean, I started working from home, so even though they've been in lockdown, I haven't really felt it because I've just been working the whole time, the whole way through. So
so between that one and then the Victorian next one, when we had that big outbreak happen, the busiest 6 weeks we'd ever had, to the point where any of the government assistance that came through the second time round, we almost missed out on because we'd made so much money.
Made so much. Wow.
Yep. But big but here, that next Victoria lockdown hurt us. We had people just give up. Gyms operate on momentum. People need to get into a groove of exercise, and they sign up and they come twice a week, and then they love it. They come 3, they come 4, they come 5, and you need that momentum. Well, 4 months of not doing anything, they lost it. Or people had left, people had moved towns, because people fled Victoria. Like anyone that wants to argue that must be delirious, because it was clearly evident the amount of people that moved interstate to work was just crazy. So we lost a few, and being that it's not a great, huge, big town, I mean, there was other gyms operating, so I'm sure people signed up to those. And being not a big town, it's hard to get those members back. Just not a big enough pool to pull from. So it's been a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. It's been interesting.
Mate,
very interesting.
What did when you first opened back up in that 6 week period, when it was your busiest period, what did you offer? What was it that got your members coming back in? If they hadn't trained for 3 or 4 months, they were going to come back in. Did you do anything different than what you had done previously?
We'd renovated. So we'd actually replaced heaps of equipment. We'd put in all new flooring. We renovated the whole place, so people were seeing that we're actually spending time and money on the place. And I honestly believe that's what made people come back the first time around, because they were just like, this place just looks unreal. Like it's just, the equipment's just next level, And I was wheeling and dealing, to be honest with you, that whole 6 weeks. Gym equipment was like, you couldn't buy it if you tried. So, I was hustling pretty hard that 6 weeks to try and upgrade stuff, sell stuff off that was now worth twice of what it was secondhand, So it's just been a pretty, pretty good wheeler and dealer during that closure, that first closure. And I think people were just excited because it was all brand new again. It was like a brand new gym, to be honest. When they came back, it was like brand spanking new, which was really good. But then we ran out of things to do. Like next 4 months, we were like, well, what do we do now?
Did you during that first lockdown? Did you lend out or lease out equipment to your members?
Yes. Leased out every bit of gear that we could physically get into their house. Dumbbells, kettlebells, bumpers, barbells, fixed barbells, kettlebells, wall balls, you name it. Anything that could be shipped out and put in your car, we were getting out. Nothing big, nothing expensive like treadmills or it's just logistically impossible. So we just we didn't do that. But body bikes, we leased body bikes out. And that's probably what saved us, to be honest with you. Leasing out equipment over that period. And we ran group classes online. I know everybody's done that. We did Zoom classes, and we just tried to keep everyone as involved in.
How did your members react when you started doing those online classes? And do you think that that's something that they're going to want every time now that you go into lockdown? So
you guys being in 9 weeks of lockdown, it makes me laugh when I see, not laugh, I shouldn't say laugh, but I find it interesting when I see these New South Wales gyms just like everybody get online, blah, 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 blah. You know, like it's okay. We can do this online and, you know, it's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. And I think you give it another 3 or 4 months and we'll see if it's going to be all right. You know, our group online classes, you know, they went from 15 people to 10 people to 3 people to 1 person to sometimes no people, you know, turning up on a Zoom call, exercising in front of your computer.
It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. 100%.
It is.
And I can see that would happen, especially after being in lockdown for such a long period of time, that numbers would dwindle, people's motivation would definitely lack. Yeah.
You know who's been unreal through this whole thing as far as a company goes? That's Les Mills. Those first couple of lockdowns, they gave all of our members, they gave us a special access. Well, they did it to everybody, I'm sure, but to their Les Mills on demand for free. Which was, people just loved it. Like they could do that in their own time then. And you know, they could have that choice of any class they wanted to do, you know, whether it was body weight stuff or we lent out all the pump sets and stuff too. So if people had a pump set, they could do body pump whenever they liked. And that was probably the best feedback I got as far as the online training goes. But the other issue was that people said, you know, are you going to do online training? Are you going to sell plans or programs or whatever it might be? But within the space of about, I don't know, 2 weeks, some of the most famous trainers in the world were just giving away all their classes and training programs for free. So it's hard to sort of think, oh, well, how can I charge that person, you know, to do my group class online when they could just get it for nothing? So the market got flooded there as well. Everybody was trying to sell online training then. I also love the fact that there was lots of commentary about this is going to change the fitness industry. Like everybody's going to realize they don't need a gym. They can do it online when it couldn't have worked in the opposite any harder if it tried. People are like, fuck this, we need a gym. Like, we need that environment.
Look, I think that is, you're 100% right with that. I think the thing that I'm starting to hear from clubs that I've chatted to, now admittedly most of those clubs have been New South Wales. There have been a couple of Victorian clubs that have been on the podcast that I'm chatting to that are going to be on the show again soon, or should we say on the show soon, in that COVID's not going anywhere. And they're talking now that, you know what, yes, back in November this year or whenever that we hit that 80 or 90% or whatever that bloody magic figure is that the government's come up with to say, yes, once we've had all these double shots, double jabs, you know, yes, we'll be open back up and whatever. At that time, I believe there's still going to be a portion of your membership that are still going to freak out a little bit, that won't want to come back into the gym yet. You're going to get your diehards. You're going to get a good group of people that are going to be like, you know what, I've had my 2 shots. I'll wear my mask. I'll do whatever I've got to do. I just need to train. I need to because of my mental health or whatever it may be. They're just going to want to get in there. But there will be a certain percentage of the demographic that'll go, no, don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's my concern now. And if the other concern I have is this vaccine passport thing, like how many people are just not going to get vaccinated because of whatever? So they can't come to the gym. How many members is that going to cost me?
The thing that I heard the other day, and which I thought was a good idea, was a hybrid model. So between your normal live classes where you've got an instructor teaching people in front of them, but also having a membership that allows someone to jump on to a restricted platform where that same instructor who's teaching that class that's live there in your studio is being broadcast to your closed group where those that are at home can still access.
We've thought about that as well, just having a live camera set up for our group classes that people can do. You know, we can, because we do have a members only. That's another thing we were really made sure we kept up to date. We've got a members only page, which we post the Zoom links now in that page. So they're not a public post. So unless you're a member in our members page, which I keep really tight control on, making sure there's only members in there. You can't see it. You can't get access to it.
Yep.
So I've thought about that hybrid setup as well for the group classes. Sure.
Yeah.
But again, not everybody wants to do group classes.
No, this is true. True. You're going to have those guys that want to walk into the gym that are going to, you can't really do CrossFit at home. Yeah, no. Unless you've got all the equipment, you can't really. And then I'm going to assume, and I've never done CrossFit myself, but I'm going to assume you wouldn't want to jump onto a Zoom call with someone else doing, it's not going to have that same environment.
People are doing it, but I don't know how. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's not what I got into it for, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's something, but it's not.
Yep.
It's not what I don't enjoy it. Put it that way.
Yeah. Yep. No, but I think there is something there though. I think that as much as we don't want to see it happen, I think that there needs to be, or there will be soon. We'll start seeing that hybrid model will start coming through, where your members will still want to pay a membership to access classes whenever they want to access classes. It's not going to be a per class thing. It'll just be a flat. This is what it's going to be. You come into the gym, this is your membership. If you're doing it from home, this is your membership, and this is what it's going to be. And here's the timetable. This is when classes will be on. You'll probably find that a lot of them might not want to do like a pump class or a spin class because they don't have the equipment. But if it's a freestyle type class, or it's a yoga or Pilates or a body balance or something like that, I believe that you're going to get those members that will pay something to actually jump on. And I think that will help not only for when we're out of lockdown and out of those restrictions, but when restrictions come back, because they're going to keep coming back. I believe that this isn't the last time for us. Steph, God, you guys have been in as many as you've been in. It's going to happen again and again. I think it's a way the clubs look at to sort of go, you know what, we can still keep a membership going here. It's a bit different. Yeah. If you're in the club, this is what it is. But if we need to switch it for you, you let us know and we can switch it over to that membership so you can still access stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that'll help financially with a lot of clubs, especially you've got to pay rent, and knowing that there's going to be less and less government support coming through. The banks are going to still be wanting their rent or mortgage payments and whatever the hell it may be. Absolutely. Yep. I think that's yeah. I think there's something. Is New South Wales getting any financial support? Do you get? I don't know. The only reason I don't know is because as I said, I've been working the whole time. Yeah, yep. I walk downstairs, I go to work. It's just what it is. I think that a lot of people, especially the government, don't get it. And it's with my daughter being home from school and homeschooling. But when I'm at home and when we're in lockdown, I work for Bodybike, and my inquiries go through the bloody roof. Like today alone, there was probably 60 odd calls, and I'm going to say close to 100 emails easily. Yep. So what I would normally do is a lot less than that. Yep. There's relationship building with clubs. Most of that from today would have been, I'm going to say, a good 95% of that were home users. Now, home users that are ringing up for a bike today expected it to be delivered 2 weeks before they rang. Yeah. And not only that, they expect to be the bottom price because they're not working and they're not getting income coming in. However, the cost of shipping's gone up, the cost of materials have gone up, the cost of everything's gone up. There's no room for a discount on anything. Yeah, It's just what it is. So some of the conversations are quite interesting. And that workload going through the roof. So, but to get to your question, I don't know whether New South Wales are getting financial support. I don't know whether the gyms are and businesses are. I'm assuming there would be something, but it's probably something you've got to go and apply for. I don't think it's an automatic given thing. No. Well, that's one thing Victoria's got going for it, in that if we applied for financial support early on, it's all just rolling over now. We don't have to reapply for it. So if we got financial support during the first or second lockdown or whatever it might be, second lockdown, third lockdown, fourth lockdown, it just rolls on. So every time they lock us down, next day they say, well, you get that money again. So you get that money again. So, and has it been the same level every single time, like from the beginning? It's come down. It's come down. The last two lockdowns have been the same. Yep. It's not a lot. It's enough to help. Yep. But again, that doesn't help moving forward. It doesn't help after lockdowns. Yep. If we've lost members, to then get those members back, Yeah. It has the first, second, third lockdowns was obviously all that federal assistance, and now it's just state. I think the federal stepped back in this last couple of times to help out, but it just rolls on, and it seems to be dropping every time, but these last two times it's been the same. So, I mean, we can't complain about that, but it doesn't help long term. It's only very short. It's only a Band-Aid. Did you have many members that offered to still pay the whole way through?
Yeah, we did. So this is the other thing we've done this time around, rather than blanket, because we do offer online training still, and we offer people to borrow equipment if they want it. Rather than blanket put all the accounts on hold, and we had this discussion with the debit company too, we give them the option to opt in or out. So we basically send out just a group email to every member and put it in the members page only, and all this, get it out there as hard as we can. Please. We understand that everybody's going through something, so let us know if you want to put your account on hold. And we'll do it for you. No problem at all. Brilliant. No questions asked. Just put it on hold. So we know we spend a few days doing that. But then there are a lot of people that just go, I'm working, and let's be honest, it's our membership out here in regional Victoria. Some people are paying $10, $15 a week, so it's not. It's not a huge whack for people who have their lives haven't changed. Which is a lot out here. So it's been good in that respect. That's really helped. But again, I try to keep paying my rent, because again, I don't want to get behind. Keep paying all my bills. That's one thing I learned for second lockdown around, is that if I don't pay it, I'm going to have to pay it at some point. So I'm better off if I can.
Delaying the inevitable. It's going to happen there 3 or 4 months' time or whenever. They'll turn around and say, no, we need that.
So, I've tried to keep paying all that as hard as I can, as much as I can, just so we don't get behind. Because we're going to come out of this at some point, even if it is a short term come out of it, we are going to come out of it. And we don't want to be behind when we do. So we want to keep all that up to date if we can.
So when has the Victorian government said that you guys are meant to be coming out of this lockdown you're in now?
Well, they've said September 3rd, but big caveat here. But today there was like 70, sounds crazy, 78 cases, but we've got a massive outbreak in Shepparton, which is about 45 minutes from us. So that's the closest it's been in 18 months. And being that it's a regional town, it's shut the town down. Like it's real. You can imagine a small town where everybody interacts with everybody all the time. The exposure site list just grew phenomenally. And everybody's been somewhere. So I think at the moment there's like 30,000 people in isolation in Shepparton.
Jesus.
It's shutting down the supermarkets because they can't get people to stack the shelves. It's shutting down all the fast food restaurants and cafes and stuff because there's no kids, because nearly every school in Shepparton got shut down as a tier 1 exposure site.
Jesus.
So it's been a bit of people can't get food. It's pretty drastic. They can't get food deliveries from the supermarket. The supermarket's got no food on the shelves because no one has filled the shelves. Pretty crazy. So that's really our concern now, being that it's so close and it has impacted the town so heavily. But in saying that, I'm that guy all the time and have been for 18 months. It's up to nearly 70 cases in Shepparton alone now, 70 active cases, but 0 hospitalised, and nobody's dying, and everybody's doing the right thing and staying home. So I don't know if they have learnt anything over 18 months. Hopefully that's a good thing. But who knows? Who knows, mate? We've been shut down. The last shutdown, we got shut down for 4 days. It was supposed to be a week. They shut the whole state down because there was 6 cases popped up in Melbourne, and they tested some sewage out of town in Wangaratta, which is about an hour from us, and they found traces of it in sewage. So they shut the whole state. I'm
listening. I'm hearing. I'm not comprehending though, because it's so different here in New South Wales compared to that. I mean, there were cases here that were at one stage, I think it was around 20 or 30 a day, and it was, just wear your mask, everything's normal, get on with it. And then all of a sudden, 9 weeks ago is when it all turned on its ass for us. But 6 cases to shut a state down, that I don't comprehend that. I don't. We're seeing how much it affects businesses and everything around there. Yeah.
So
Look,
I don't know. Do you hear much about the Victorian lockdowns from up there or not?
To be completely honest, I stopped watching the news. I've unplugged the TV, Ariel. I don't watch it.
So
I watch
last week,
Netflix, I watch Binge, I watch Stan, I watch other stuff, and I hear about what's going on through chatting to people. I try not to get on social media that much because I think it's too opinionated and it's people's opinion of what it is and not so much the truth. But no, I don't hear a lot.
So, well, they've shut playgrounds down. So there's no kids' playgrounds open. Ours in town here have got red tape all around them.
Yeah.
Every time there's a lockdown, we can't go within 5 kilometres of a house in regional Victoria.
Yep.
That's the same. The whole state's like that. There's the curfew, obviously, in Melbourne, which has now been introduced in Sydney, I know too. But it's almost like every time there's a lockdown, they make these rules harder. We've had less cases now than we did at the peak of the pandemic, and the rules have never been harder. It's quite surreal, really. Every time they lock us down, there's a new rule introduced, new rules introduced. It's just, and I get it if they're saying this Delta strain's more contagious or transmissible, and I get that. But it's such a surreal feeling. We can't take the kids to the playground outdoors.
We're in the 5K rule at the moment, which is a struggle. It's a big challenge. I mean, we live on not a massive property, but I've got a backyard. Yeah, my sister-in-law is living in Melbourne. Both of them are in St Kilda, I believe, and they've only got balconies. To get out 1 hour a day to do your exercise, and that's it, and maybe go shopping. But then you're stuck indoors the whole time. If I need to, I can just walk out the back door and I can sit on the grass and muck around with the dogs or do whatever I need to do for a little bit. There are so many people, I believe, that are worse. Well, a hell of a lot of people are worse off.
That's the other thing. We're lucky being regional. Us, we've said that all along. We could be worse living in an apartment in Melbourne. That would be an absolute nightmare. Yeah. I can't imagine what some of those people are going through.
No.
I can't even fathom it.
No.
Like, we're struggling here, and like you said, we've got beautiful beach down there we can go for a walk to. It's a kilometre away and huge backyard here. So we're pretty lucky, but God, it's still hard for us. Can't imagine what it's like for them down there. Yeah. Be absolute nightmare.
But I think we could talk about COVID all night long. Let's get back onto. No, my fault. I took us down that path. I want to ask you around. It's still relating to COVID, but when you open back up, what's going to be different? What do you think you're going to have to do differently to what you were doing pre-lockdown this last time?
Nothing.
Just open, away you go, and everything's back to how it was before.
Yep, mate. We still believe that we are in the hygiene game. Yep. So we, as far as that goes, that nobody ever stands within 1.5 meters of anyone else at the gym. Yep. Hardly ever.
At the best of the time.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't been paying any. I haven't been paying attention to the statistics now, but I know for that 9 months we were closed, there still wasn't one COVID transmission in a gym in the whole country.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still the case or what's happened. There might have been a couple. I don't know, but is none?
I don't know. I don't know. No. I remember hearing something about a couple of gyms in New South Wales, in Sydney, but I don't know whether that was transmission there or just someone had been in there that had been tested positive.
Lots got classed as tier 1 sites or whatever they call them. I don't know what they call them there, but where they're people who had been there who had COVID, but as far as I know, there still hasn't been one transmission. So that's a positive thing. We have, we still have the best contract tracing systems for a 24-hour facility in the world. To the point where I even had the police visit me in the middle of last lockdown, when we're open, and say to me, it was a day after the QR codes came compulsory in Victoria. And it was a Sunday. It became compulsory on a Saturday and it was a Sunday, I think. Or other way, it came compulsory Friday and it was a Saturday. And I just dropped down to the gym to get some protein or something whenever I was down there. And they were sitting out the front and they said to me, they read me my rights to start with and told me I was being recorded on the camera and said, how come you're not complying? And I said, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what do you mean not complying? They said, well, where's your QR code? I said, oh, well, that's compulsory now. And I said, sorry, I didn't realise it was compulsory now because no one else is using. I'm not. I've got bigger fish on my plate. Yeah. They said, well, that's not very good. You could be if someone comes in there with COVID, you could be the place that you blah blah. And I said, well, all right, try and get in there. Try and get in my gym. Try and walk in there. And he said, what do you mean? I said, just try and walk in the door. Yeah. And he walked over the door and he said, well, I can't. I said, exactly. Unless you've got one of these keys, it's got your phone number, your name, your address, your email address, your photo. Yeah. You can't get in. I said, but you can head down to the supermarket right now and see about 2,000 people a day walk in there without checking in once.
Yep.
So I said, mate, as far as I'm concerned, I'm more compliant and have been since day one. Yep. I can give you to the second who's been in my gym, who with, at what time, what machine they've been on. I can show you to the second.
Yep.
But try and do that anywhere else. Yeah. So anyway, that was an interesting conversation. So because we do have 24-hour facility, the turnover of people crossing over and going, there's never any more than 20 or 30 people there at a time. We only have enough equipment to do 10 people per group class. We don't have big group classes because we don't want them. Yeah. Because they're just too hard to manage at the best of times. So we only keep them very small anyway. We've got 10 bikes, we've got 10 pump sets, we've got the CrossFit. Well, there's not enough people to do 10 people or more than 10 people one time with barbells and whatever else set up to. We just don't have big class sizes. So, there was a time there where we had a restriction that it was something like 20 people per space that we were allowed to have in the gym. Yep. So we thought, oh, Jesus, we'd never counted how many people we had in the gym at one time. How are we going to go over this? But maybe a handful of times we just had to say, look, there's 20 people in here. Just give it a minute and I promise you someone's going to leave. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened.
It's almost
one
like
in, one came out.
Days of a nightclub, one in, one out. God.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It was not a problem. Didn't have an issue. So, the one person per 4 square meter rule, I'm telling you now, some persons isn't closer to me that in a gym, something's wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just, the machines are spaced enough to be further enough away from people, and people generally that come to a gym are, they're hygienic. They're worried about their health and well-being.
True.
They know if they're sick, they're not going to come and exercise. I think one thing everybody's aware of now that's if you're sick, just stay away. Like don't come. Like it's not worth it for you or anyone else. I spent thousands of dollars on automatic hand sanitizer dispensers and single-use gym wipes. And, where most gyms, or we used to too, we used to have to spray and a cloth. Well, I replaced all that with single-use antibacterial wipes, like heaps of them. I spent thousands of dollars on that stuff. So to be honest with you, we won't do anything different. And here's the reality of it. Someone's going to have COVID at some point. Yep. Fully vaccinated or not. Yeah. So we just need to realise that we can't avoid it forever. Yep. We have to just be very smart about it. Yep. If we get someone come there and they get tested positive, well, we have procedures in place. Again, the contact tracing, and just like the supermarkets have had to do, and just like the restaurants have had to do, and we just have to do what we have to do. So we're not going to avoid it forever. It's just as simple as that. We have to be aware, and I think everybody has to be aware that it's going to come into your life at some point. Yeah. No, for sure. Mate, what's in store in the future for your gym? What have you got? Huge things. Yep. Huge things.
Do you want to share them?
Oh well, yeah, because it's sort of at the point now where it's all happening. So we've actually been planning a brand new facility in the last couple of years.
Cool.
COVID's put a hold on that over the last 18 months, but we're still pushing forward with it. We've just had the planning permit all approved for it. So we're purpose building a brand new facility.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's my aim for over the next at least 2 or 3 years to get that all up. And I don't know how long it's going to take. I think we've done the hard bit. I think the rest is pretty getting all the planning done and all that sort of stuff was been a long, hard road. But
so far from where you are now, still in town, still in Cobram?
Yeah, literally just across the road.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so there's some vacant land that I'm purchasing.
Yep.
And just had subdivided and purchasing.
Yep.
And we're going to put it onto there. So
brilliant.
It's pretty exciting.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, I just want to take it to the next level. Just want to have everything I've done in my gym. And this might sound a bit egotistical or whatever it might be, but everything I've done in there is because I want it. And I think it's what people will. They don't know they need it yet, but I think they're going to love this. Like they're going to want once they see that this is how this works, they're going to love it. And it's happened every time. So I'm going into that new facility with that in mind. Like if I was to have the dream facility, what would I want?
What would you want? Yeah.
What would it look like?
Yeah.
So, and I've still got written on the whiteboard in my office up there from 2016. I drew a little, I wrote a little, like my goals basically. And my number one goal was I want to have a world-class facility in a small regional town. That was my goal. And that's what I've aimed at for 5 years. So that's what I'm going to aim at in the next 5 or 10 years or whatever it might be.
That's brilliant to hear, knowing from where it started, where it began for you. And I'll say down on the beach with the,
rusty old kettlebells.
Yeah. To have that to come from what you've gone through, dealing with COVID, dealing with 9 bloody lockdowns and all the crap that's going on, to having that vision still, I think is amazing. You haven't lost sight of your goal. It's still you've dealt with the challenges along the way, and it's like, righto, this is shit, but we get on with it. We continue going, we move forward, mate. Well done.
How many people do you reckon had ridden a body bike before they got on one in Cobram? None.
No, not in Cobram.
No way.
No.
And now I could have went and bought some cheaper spin bikes from wherever, and people just would have been okay with it. But I was like, you know what? If we're going to do this, I'm just going to get what I think, what I would like. I would like the best bikes going around.
Yep.
Whether they notice or not, it doesn't really matter. But to me, I know that they're as good as it gets. That's what they're on. You know what I mean?
But it's funny, that if I want to talk about equipment for a second with you, because being working for Body Bike and being here for the 5 years that I have now, I've dealt with a lot of clubs. Yep. And a lot of the people that I'm dealing with have got agreements with a lot of other suppliers, but will come to us for a reason. And it's because they're looking at, as you're saying as well, wanting to get the best of the equipment in their facility for their members. Now, right now, a lot of people aren't seeing that there's not one, or they're seeing that there's not one supplier that has the best of everything. So that piece of equipment, you know what, I need to go to that company. If I want this piece of equipment, I need to go to that company. There's not one that does absolutely everything. Yeah. And so what we're starting to see is that, yes, these more and more clubs that are wanting the best of the best will come to us, but they'll go to everybody else because they've realized that there isn't one company that does it all. Yeah. And I think that's when, as an owner, manager, you're on the right path. You haven't just sort of gone, yeah, cool, you know what? Yeah, it's going to cost me $300,000. I'm just going to go, we're going to put all that equipment in there. They won't do it. They actually search for it and get the right stuff. So, mate, from me to you, thank you as well for when we first met years ago. When was that? How many years ago was that? 3?
3 or 4. Probably
3 or 4 years ago.
I was probably 12, 18 months into owning the gym.
Yep.
Before I got in contact with you. Yeah.
Yep,
for sure.
Yeah.
And again, just did my research and asked questions, and the general consensus was just don't even go anywhere else. It might cost you a little bit more, but it's it's worth it in the long run. And it has these bikes haven't missed a beat.
Yep.
So they're unreal. So like you said, I did the first time I went, right, I've got this money, I'm going to buy all the equipment one go, and learned along the way that I shouldn't have done that. I should have just picked out and choose. But that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to get the best stuff. I've got well, depends who you talk to, but I think it's the best anyway. So it's good.
Yep. I think it's what comes down to you and what fits your gym, your memberships, and what your feel is. I mean, there are going to be people out there that are going to poo-poo it no matter what. There are going to be people out there that go, you know what, that's fantastic. You've got the right stuff. I'm seeing more and more of those clubs, and starting to see more and more chains as well that are going, you know what, no, I'm not just going to go with one supplier. We're going to look at all different ones and get the right thing for our members and make sure that what we're putting in is the best equipment, because that's what we want for our members. So,
absolutely. Yeah, and it makes a big difference. I think people do appreciate it. They might not tell you, but they notice. They notice for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Mate, thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you telling me everything that you've told me and sharing your story with us. Is there anything else you want to share? Is there anything you want to any bits of wisdom you want to part with to share to anyone that might be listening?
I just think that our role has never been more important. Without a doubt, we've got a massive role to play in the country's future of our health and well-being. I don't think that's never been more evident, but less discussed. So I think there's a big future for gyms, gym owners and fitness facilities within the country to play a major role in shaping it. And I reckon we've got a pretty big voice about this as well, and we should be using it. We should definitely be again, I think COVID's taught us that we really take our health for granted, and we can actually do something about it.
Yeah.
There's no argument that the data says the healthier and fitter you are, the better chance you've got fighting illness, especially COVID. That's legitimate science. You don't have to look too deep to find out that obesity is playing a major role in that illness.
Yeah.
So, I honestly, to my core, believe we've got a huge role to play, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, mate. Thank you. As I said, once again, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time, and good luck for the future.
All right, cool. Thanks, mate.
Well, that's it for this chat. I hope you're enjoying what you hear. Next week, I'm chatting with Sylvia Westra, franchisee of Fernwood, Liverpool, Blacktown, and Seven Hills. Until then, stay safe. May we meet again.